Sup, chooms? How y'all living? Hope everything is Nova and you're all having a preem week. So, I've talked extensively on this channel about hair loss treatments that hair loss witchers can utilize as part of their alchemy build to help defeat the slaphead curse. But let me ask you something, chooms. What good is having hair if your hair looks like shit? Truth be told, I'd rather have a full head of shitty hair than be a bald man, but there is more to making hair look good than just saving it from oblivion. That's where the topic of hair care comes in. Hair care isn't about saving your hair, it is just about making the hair look healthy and aesthetically pleasing. I have yet to make a video about hair care, so today I'm going to officially remedy that. Admittedly, I haven't done nearly as much research on this subject as I have about hair loss, but I thought what I would do is go over some of the products that I use on a pretty regular basis and provide my own rationalization for doing so. So the first thing I recommend to anybody, especially anyone who uses any kind of topical hair loss treatment, whether it be topical finasteride, topical minoxidil, or any product that contains propylene glycol, is this thing right here. This, chooms, is called a shower comb. What is it? Well, it's just a piece of plastic, so why do I use this? Well, if you use minoxidil or other topicals, you may have noticed that they tend to cause residue buildup that looks a little bit like dandruff. The problem, though, is that these flakes in your hair are not actually dandruff. They're just the dried up residue of the topicals that you use. So conventional dandruff treatments like Head and Shoulders or Nizoral shampoo won't affect them. So if you want to remove these flakes, you'll want to remove them manually. Shower combs or brushes like this one are especially useful because they have a lot of hard plastic bristles on them that you can probably see right here, and these won't easily bend, so you can scrub it hard in a wet scalp to better remove some of the dandruff-like residue buildup, but don't scrub it too hard though because you don't want to get traction alopecia. Just use moderate pressure, and especially make sure you get the size of your scalp because that's where a lot of the liquid drips down and then dries up, and that's where the residue comes from. It probably won't get rid of all the residue, but you can probably get rid of enough of it so you're not embarrassed to go to the office in a black suit. If you're using a propylene glycol-free topical like minoxidil foam, for instance, that probably won't be much of a problem, but if you prefer the liquid, which I do since it is easier to apply to longer hair, then you definitely should consider investing in one of these. Make sure you use it every time you shower or anytime your hair is damp, and you won't have to worry about it making snow every time you brush your hand through your hair. So the second thing I use is this. This, chooms, is a hair mask. Unlike the shower comb, I use this one much less frequently, only once per week at most, and usually just once every other week. There are a lot of different hair masks for different applications that you can find on the market, and it might seem overwhelming at first, so for most hair loss sufferers, you probably want to use something that provides moisture and hydration, especially if you use a ketoconazole shampoo like Nizoral, since that can be very, very drying, especially the 2% Nizoral. And also ethanol-based topical solutions like minoxidil, of course, can be very drying too. The reason why I like using a hair mask though is because it helps prevent breakage. Now, that doesn't mean that it helps prevent hair loss. You definitely need finasteride for that specific purpose, but a hair mask can strengthen the individual hair strands and help protect them from the trauma they experience from everyday life, like brushing, split ends, dryness, and applying heat. It gives my hair a nice good shine to it, so it doesn't have that dull, matte-like texture to it that I hate. Speaking of which, you want to be especially careful about applying heat to your hair in general, because even if you baby the hell out of your hair, a hot air dryer can make your hair look really frizzy and lifeless. So if you like to use a hair dryer like I do, make sure you buy one that has a cool setting on it. It may take a little longer to dry, maybe just a few minutes longer, but your hair won't look nearly as bad and frizzy. So the third thing I use is this. This is a sea salt spray, also known as a texturizing spray. Sea salt sprays are especially useful though because they prevent the hair from going flat. They give it more volume and lift, so even though it obviously doesn't do anything to promote hair growth like minoxidil, it can still give you the illusion of having thicker hair just because it makes it stick up more. This is especially useful if you use a lot of conditioners because conditioners, while useful, they still tend to weigh the hair down, making it look flatter, but you don't want to avoid conditioners completely because if you use topicals, your hair will get too dry and frizzy. So that way you can use this sea salt spray as a good way to help your hair maintain your style without resorting to things like hairsprays and gels that can give you crunchy hair, kind of like that scene from Something About Mary. What I like to do personally is I'll take a shower, and then while my hair is still slightly damp, I'll use several spritzes of sea salt spray all across my scalp, and then I'll go directly to bed. And then when I wake up in the morning, my hair will have that voluminous bedhead look that lasts for most of the day, so this is really good stuff. And as for the next one, one, this kind of goes along with what I was saying about sea salt spray. This is dry shampoo, and you can get dry shampoo that already has texturizing spray in it, so it'll have all the benefits of sea salt spray to begin with, but it also has the added bonus of making your hair look less greasy. Dry shampoos work because they usually contain some organic compounds such as rice or potato flour that help absorb sebum, which is the oil that your scalp secretes. So by absorbing the oil, it can help add volume and lift back to your hair, much like sea salt spray does, since oil can weigh down your hair. It also smells really nice, so it is a great way to quickly freshen up after the gym in between washes, or if you're about to go on a date. So this is really good stuff. Truth is, my partner knows a lot more about specialized hair care products than I do, so she wanted me to remind you, chums, that if you have darker hair, then please make sure you use a dry shampoo that is designed for darker hair, so you don't end up with a white, powdery look on your hair, which could make you look like you're prematurely graying. You know, not that there's anything wrong with that, of course. I mean, Geralt of Rivia has gray hair and he looks badass, but it's probably not something you'd want to see if you're 20 years old or something like that. So this is an extremely useful product and is especially helpful if showering too frequently is harsh on your scalp and your hair. So definitely keep a bottle of one of these handy at all time. Finally, number 5. Last but not least are hair concealers. Now, I only seldom use these. I usually use them only if I get a seasonal telogen shed, so I have something to make my hair look thicker while my scalp recovers, or I'll use them on special occasions when I want to make my hair look really, really nice. This one right here is Topic. I actually usually use Kabuki, which is pretty much the same product as Topic, but this one was given to me for free, not by the company, but as a gift from a friend. And the way it works is that the fibers bind to your individual hair follicles when you spray them on, and it makes them look a lot thicker. But it's very important that you don't use too much of this product, otherwise it'll give your hair what I like to call the dirty Topic look, where it looks powdery and dirty. Definitely not a very aesthetically appealing look. You also want to make sure that you use it with some hairspray, otherwise the fibers will just migrate to your scalp and it will look like you have just a bunch of powder caked up on your scalp. Definitely not a good look. So Topic and Kabuki are definitely good products that I recommend, especially if you're going to be in a low light environment where it's harder to tell that it's a powder, but you don't want to use these products on your hairline. They work on the crown, but they look like hell on the hairline. So for the hairline, a much better concealer would be something like Derm Match. Derm Match is a liquid concealer, so it doesn't have that powdery look to it. One problem with all concealers though, whether it be Derm Match, Kabuki, or Topic, is that they're all pretty expensive and it is easy to burn through the bottles very quickly if you use a lot of it. So here's a trick that you can use to actually make your own Derm Match for about 1/10 of the price. So what you do is you just go to any cosmetic store and buy an affordable eyeshadow palette with colors that match the color of your hair. Kind of like this right here. This is probably just a few bucks, and if they ask you, you can just tell them you're buying it for your girlfriend. You also need to get an eyeshadow brush, which is also dirt cheap, and all you have to do is you just have to find the color which most closely matches your own hair color, and then you dip the brush in, and then gently brush along the hairline, and it may take a little bit of trial and error, and you can even try combining colors. Like for example, as you can see, I'm kind of a medium brunette, so what I like to do is that I combine the light and dark shades of brown together to best match my own natural hair color, and it really works extremely well to camouflage the scalp in the thinner areas where there's hair. Whatever you do though, don't add water because that can make it look muddy. So what you want to do is just use a little bit of hairspray once you get the desired coverage, and that way you can get that easy, breezy, beautiful hair cafe look. I gotta tell you, chums, I'm a proud metrosexual because there's nothing wrong with keeping it real. Lastly, one thing you probably want to avoid completely are hair gels. They make the hair stick together so they give your scalp a diffuse look. If you want to use something that makes your hair hold, then what you want to use are pomades because they give the hair a more natural, pliable hold. It can also provide a matte finish, which is useful since hair gels tend to make the hair look too shiny and metallic looking. Hairspray should only be used to help hold in hair fibers. Using too much will cause the same problems as hair gels. So that's about it, and I know there are a bajillion other hair care products out there, including some others that I've used before, so maybe I'll do a follow-up video to this one sometime in the future, but I just wanted to briefly go over what is part of my current stack for hair care products. You don't have to use everything I mentioned, but if the products I describe sound like they can treat an issue with your hair that you currently have, then it might be worth playing around with some of them. Alright, chums, so I hope you enjoyed this little diversion. I will be back with more hair loss witchery in the near future. Thank you for watching. God bless.